I'm Mindy Wyke, and this is Work in Progress. It's a podcast where we will be talking all about human development in tech. In the tech world, WIP stands for Work in Progress. It's often used for pull requests, merge requests, and sometimes even technical documentation that is still in draft mode. It's not quite finished yet. And let's be real, we are not quite finished. Humans are always in draft mode. This podcast is about the real, the messy, the human side of working in tech. I'll be talking with engineers, but also designers, product folks, customer support, coaches, and people from all over the tech world about what they are learning about, struggling with, building, and becoming. But ultimately, we are not here to showcase perfection. We're here to normalize growth, share stories, and remind each other that being a work in progress is exactly where we are supposed to be. So let's commit to curiosity and jump into it. Well, hello, and welcome back to the Work in Progress podcast. With me today, I have Grace Dees. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Thank you. Well, thanks for having me on. My name is Grace Dees. I'm a cybersecurity business analyst. I've held that role about a year and a half now, so I'm kind of learning all things cybersecurity and business and working with lots of different departments and people. So, but I'm super stoked to be on. Thanks again for having me, and looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah, thanks for joining me. So actually, speaking of you having been in this role for about a year and a half, I think you wanted to talk a little bit about transitioning into tech. As a fellow career changer, I think it's always really interesting to hear like what people were doing before and like why transition, how did it happen? So yeah, would you like to share a little bit about your transition?
Yeah, of course. So my move into cybersecurity was a little unorthodox. I was born and raised in South Texas, and I had a lot of experience around horses and ranching and stuff growing up. And so when I got to the end of high school and they were saying, it's time to pick a degree and time to go to college, I was like, okay, well, what do I want to do? And really the only thing I knew was horses at the time. So I actually ended up going to Colorado State University for their equine program. It's a bachelor's of science in equine science. And I don't regret it at all. I loved my equine program. But as I got to the end of it, I realized that they were both very niche and also very general. So I wanted to get a master's degree on top of it to have a little bit more marketability and a little bit more kind of diversity on if I wanted to change careers later. So I got an MBA from Midway University after that, and I started working in the horse industry while I was getting my MBA, and I had my own business there for a while. But then by the time I graduated, I realized that I wanted something a little bit more steady and that had real benefits and steady income for someone getting a little bit older, as the horse industry can be very up and down. So I decided to take a step back. I had no idea what I wanted to do. All I had known was horses. So I took some time. I thought about it, and I thought about my parents. So my mom, she actually worked in IT back in the 90s when things were first coming up and getting really exciting. And my dad, he was a police officer. So it sounds maybe a little cheesy, but I just put the two together, IT and being a police officer, and I came up with cybersecurity. So I started doing research. I self-taught through some certifications, and I figured out that I really loved it. So after that, I just networked the heck out of events and found my way into the field, thankfully. And since then, I've just been learning and growing and doing a lot of projects. But yeah, that's kind of how I got into it.
That's awesome. I don't think I knew that you jumped into equine stuff first. So that's really cool. I learned something about you today, even though I've known you for a little bit. Um, I guess are you able to talk a little bit about some of the projects that you're working on, or are they hush hush? I know, cybersecurity, you have to be careful. So,
Well, during this role, I mean, I've worked on a lot of projects. Been able to do everything from working on like compliance, helping my company get like a SOC 2 certification is one that we achieved earlier this year, which was really exciting. So I was able to help with that, but also lots of like just client communication, building those skills, relationship management, a lot of project management, and then also being able to help with some of the design of like our new website. We got it redesigned, different tools and products that we built. I helped with a lot of some design on that and like doing a lot of QA, and being able to gather feedback and do testing and stuff like that. So we do have a tool that's coming out soon, which unfortunately I can't reveal yet, but it is very cool. I will keep everyone posted on that. But I've been able to help a lot with the QA, and kind of design and strategy and work into that tool. So yeah, it's a lot of different things, but I've been really grateful. That's kind of one of the good things about startup life. You get a lot of opportunity. Um, and then personally, I've done a lot this year as well. I recently moved to Fort Collins, moved in with my girlfriend. I joined the roller derby league here in Fort Collins, and so all of that super duper fun. Lots of personal and professional, which has been a learning experience on its own. Being able to balance those two.
Yeah, it feels like you've had like a lot going on. So, and I think coming from my own experience, having transitioned into tech myself as well, trying to learn all of the things, there's a lot to learn at the beginning, and I burned out pretty quickly. I don't know if that's the case for you, but how are you balancing that? How are you managing, your personal life, learning, roller derbying? How's that all happening?
Yeah, so burnout, thankfully, it hasn't been like a big issue for me. I have gone through periods where I have felt more burnt out than other times.
Hmm.
Usually, whenever that happens, I realize that I genuinely just have to like take a step back and, like for example, even a simple thing is like if I'm coming up on a weekend, I just keep that weekend free. I don't block it, right? And but that's something small, but overall, to prevent the burnout, um, I think a great thing that I have learned recently is about setting boundaries, with
Hmm.
both professional and personal. So as I've started to grow in my career and grow in my life and started getting busier, I've kind of learned that I can't do everything. That sometimes you have to prioritize, even though that's hard. And sometimes that means, you know, blocking out time in my work schedule to either not be, notified by people, or if it's something like if for instance, like if I have something to do personally on like an afternoon and like a client needs to book a meeting or whatever, working around times that work for my personal life as well instead of just
Hmm.
overrunning my personal life in order to accommodate the professional stuff. And obviously there's exceptions, like if things really have to do, but in general, I think a really good thing that I've been learning recently to learn that balance is how to set boundaries and how to prioritize your well-being and your personal health as well, so that way you can show up lively and authentic and the best you can in the professional space.
Yeah, I'm totally on that journey myself right now. I'm just trying to figure out like, so this past year I've spent working on my mental health after the burnout and stuff, and so now I'm transitioning into physical health, and I'm like,
Nice.
how do I prioritize this? So I'd love for you to teach me your the things that you've learned. Actually, I guess on that note, is there like maybe one or two tips on maybe setting boundaries and or the prioritizing that you can help or that you can share? I know you mentioned like blocking off time on your calendar. Is there anything else that's been really helpful?
Well, one thing I have been learning, I've been doing a lot of reading and stuff about like this very topic and other kind of like personal ways to improve your life, help yourself, prevent burnout, stuff like that. One of the things that I actually found out that I had trouble with was recognizing my needs. So
Hmm.
I think a great first step, and especially for people that are uh, younger in their career or new into an industry or something like that, I think it's really important to take time with yourself, whether you have to just sit and think, or if you like to journal or whatever, and actually think about what you need. Because a lot of us, especially as women, but also just in high demand fields, it is very common and sometimes expected for us to put away what we need, and what we
Yeah.
actually want in order to accommodate whatever else is going on. So I would say that's probably my biggest tip, especially for a first step, is just sit with yourself. Even if it takes time, it takes days, you have to think for a few weeks, but sit with yourself and realize, what do I need? What makes me happy? What makes me unhappy? And then once you have that written down, you can kind of prioritize based on whatever your workload is or your personal goals. And then go from there into more of the actionable steps of like choosing you're blocking off your calendar or choosing what you're going to do that weekend versus putting something else aside that you do later, into more
Yeah.
actionable strategies.
Yeah, I've been talking with somebody recently about like, okay, how do I determine what are my need to get done now versus I can do this later? And that's been a real challenge because I like to do all the things. But I'm only human and I can't do it all.
Yeah,
Um,
that was also something that I struggled with a lot, especially like when I first transitioned and I was trying to do everything I could. I think
mhm.
we want to do everything we can because people like you and me and lots of other people were very passionate. We're very enthusiastic. We like what we do. And so we want to do everything, but you have to learn that eventually that will burn you out, even if it is something you're passionate about.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, so let's circle back a little bit to before I ask this question, I mentioned like trying to learn all of the things. What has helped you, particularly both in a high demand field of cybersecurity, but also in a startup? Like, what has helped you digest that information the best, if that makes sense?
Like things that are going on in the industry or
Yeah, like, I guess how did you approach, yeah, learning the industry, learning the startup that you're currently in? Like, how, I'm sure it was like drinking from the fire hose. So, like, how did you organize your thoughts? How did you like, yeah, spend time learning about cybersecurity? I know you did some before you got the job, but yeah, how did you do that?
Well, when it comes to keeping up with like industry updates, I really love subscribing to like newsletters and stuff, because
Hmm.
a lot of them will give you kind of like bite-sized information at first, right? Like a lot of
Hmm.
headlines or just titles and a little bit of summary, and then if you see something that catches your eye, you can click on it, learn more about it. But I do subscribe to like a couple of newsletters, and they help keep up with the industry like that. Obviously, you don't keep up with everything, but then that's where you can kind of like lean on your team a little bit, because
Yeah.
all of us are in the industry. So if something big happens, we're probably going to be talking about it like within the team and stuff like that. But on my own, yeah, I have a Mac, and I keep the little news widget on my screen for the
Oh, yeah.
cybersecurity topic. So like every morning when I'm getting ready and logging on for work, I can see like what are the top headlines for cybersecurity for the day. And that's been really helpful too. So that's kind of industry. But when it comes to like learning a new startup or slash business slash information about your industry, that one takes a little bit of time.
Yeah.
It kind of goes hand in hand with the wanting to do everything we can right off the bat. I know for me, I'm very like a type A person. I like having everything done. I don't like procrastinating. But sometimes that can lead to feeling really overwhelmed when there's a lot of information coming in. So the best thing
Yep.
that I knew to do was um, I took advantage of my like project management board that I use. Like I have one for myself, and just creating actual like tasks, like creating maybe you put a due date on it if you want to like research this topic, right? And then if it helps, you can write things out about it, or you can just learn. Again, you can do things like blocking off your schedule, or even if it's not during the week, even if you need to block off time during the weekend as like your learning time, and you say like, hey, I have 2 hours, I want to do this research on this topic, and then I have to go do my laundry, or then I have to go do whatever I have to do, right? So
Yeah.
for me, I'm very organized, so I try to keep the organization kind of throughout, no matter what I'm learning. But when it comes to drinking from the fire hose, I would say give yourself time and give yourself grace, really, because it's easy to feel maybe a little disheartened or overwhelmed, and it's you just take it one step at a time and you just learn as you go.
No, that's great. So I just changed jobs recently and it's been drinking from the fire hose and I have to keep reminding myself it takes time. Like I don't have to
Yes.
know everything today. No one's going to be upset with me if I don't know it like
Yeah.
everything right now. So, but it's hard. Yeah, I'm also type A, so goodness. Um Anyway, so I guess having learned more about the industry and like picked up all of these things, you've now been at the startup for a year and a half. Do you have more confidence, or how do you feel like at the current state?
Yeah, for sure. I think from where I was a year and a half-ish ago to now, it feels completely different. In the last few months, I've really felt myself kind of come into like having like personal agency when it comes to work, being able to make decisions where previously I maybe would have asked someone about it, but now it's like, no, I know I can do this. Like I know that this is going to go well. So I definitely feel like I've built up a lot of confidence, a lot of agency for myself, and then also um, the great thing that I have found about this role particularly, but kind of startup slash new career in general, is developing the muscle of uh, being able to learn things on the fly,
Hmm.
and being able to learn and accomplish things that you don't know how to do yet. Because that's where I found myself when I first started. Everything that I was asked to do was new to me because this was a
Hmm.
brand new industry, a brand new career. So, and it was overwhelming at times, but I'm grateful for it again because it has helped me learn that I can, one, accomplish hard things, and two, you take the overwhelming project and you learn how to break it down into manageable pieces. Right. And that's kind of like that's almost like a also a core value of like project management, but it can apply to your personal life too. And so I've been able to take those things that I've learned in work and apply them to my personal life. And so the more things that I accomplish or achieve or hard tasks that I do, the more confidence it's given. So I highly recommend doing things that you maybe don't know how to do yet or are a little nervous about because it'll be worth it in the end.
Well, and that's a skill I've been learning, particularly since starting the new role, like breaking things down, break it down smaller than that. Like make it so actionable that it's like easy to tick the box,
Yeah.
which then leads to momentum, which leads to completing projects. So you're absolutely right. Totally a core value of project management. Um, is there anything else that you wanted to cover? I think that's all the stuff that's on my list.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, I want people to know that being in tech, switching into tech, or, being a woman or part of a marginalized group in tech can feel scary, can feel overwhelming. But it's really important for people to know that they are not alone. That they definitely, if you're scared, that's okay. There are lots of people and lots of resources out there that you can reach out to and that you can say, like, hey, do you have a second to talk about this? Like, I know I recently I had someone from our women in tech group reach out to me and she said, hey, I have a friend who's trying to break into security. Would you be willing to have a 15-20 minute call with her to just talk casually? And I was like, yeah, of course. So we
Hmm.
did, and it went really, really well. And that type of stuff is things that I really enjoy. I really do enjoy helping people, answering questions whenever I can, helping them build their their confidence or just, I don't know, just being a resource to lean on. So I just think it's important for people to know that if you're nervous, that's okay. And it can be about anything. Just reach out to the people in the community or in the industry or in whatever you're trying to do, and lean on them because I promise it'll be worth it and it'll make you feel a lot better in the end.
Yeah, and I feel like in a lot of cases, so particular, or for like different projects that you haven't done for before in particular, um, for the most part, other people have done it or done something similar to that. So you can find someone to ask, or like you said, find other resources to help you figure it out. You're not the
Yeah.
first one I mean, in some cases you are, but in most cases, you're not the first person to figure out this problem.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that pretty much summarizes it.
Excellent. Um, so like acknowledging the fear is one thing, but do you have any advice also for like pushing through it. I know some
Mm.
people can just sort of like, just take it on and go through it, but do you have any advice for people who are maybe less courageous or, yeah, what do you have for that?
Yeah, that's a good one. I used to be very, very scared of doing things kind of in general that scared me. Now I feel a lot less nervous about new tasks, but back then I remember one of the greatest things that I did was it was going around like social media for a while, but it was just
Mhm.
like the do it theory was like do it scared, do it nervous. And I know that sounds like a big ask for a lot of people, but again, you can, as like we were talking about earlier, you can break it down into smaller and smaller tasks that help you do it. So even if you start like, if you are thinking about switching into security or switching into tech, and that is such an overwhelming thought for you, I'll maybe just start with a Google search. Just search cybersecurity or search whatever your term is, and just start reading. Start reading about it, take some notes, and go from there. Or if you have more confidence or more gung ho about you, then start reaching out to people. Start having video calls if you like that. If you don't, stick to text. You can DM people. You can message people. And I mean, this can be applicable to anything in life. But my biggest thing is kind of uh, bringing together the task management that we were talking about earlier. Is like,
Mhm.
if you're scared, and I've been there, just break it down to what you can do. And if you need support, lean on your friends, lean on your family, lean on people in social groups or hobby groups that you might be a part of. Anyone that's in your village, anyone that's in your network, talk to them, because people will usually want you to succeed. They, when people have your best interests at heart, they want you to succeed, and they're usually more willing to help than you might think. So I would say if you're scared, one, you got to have the do it mindset, and two, whatever you do, break it down into something that you are comfortable in, and start there.
Yeah, I like that. You actually read my mind. I was like thinking the first task can just be open the web browser. So yeah, doing a Google search is probably better. But that was exactly what I was thinking. So thank you for
Yeah, of
for
course.
putting my thoughts to words. But
Mhm.
anyway, well, thank you. This has been excellent.
Yeah, if people ever have questions or wanna talk, my DMs are always open, so they can find me on LinkedIn, or we could talk some other way if we have Slack together. But yeah, if people want to reach out, I'm always available.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Grace. It's been wonderful to have you, and I appreciate you being here.
Of course. Thank you. Anytime.
That's it for this commit of the Work in Progress podcast. If you liked it, please hit follow, leave a review, or share it with another human who's figuring things out too. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and keep showing up, even if it's still a draft. Until next time, keep iterating.